Right, guys, haven't I got a surprise for you today? There's two of us here to discuss Archer Aviation's bull case. Reese, do you want to give the guys a quick breakdown on what happened in the earnings call?
So it was a big earnings call. For all of you that were there, I think it went pretty well. We had loads of you in here giving your comments. And overall, I think it was a pretty good earnings call. I thought there was a lot of news, and it was a shame about that the stock tanking, because it actually kind of overshone what the actual earnings call was. So I think that this will be quite a good video, and where we can just sort of discuss what's happened with Archer, what are the bullish side of it, and what we thought were the highlights of that earnings call. So I think some of the highlights for me personally, I thought the fact that they're going to be making revenue now by selling to Abu Dhabi. And then they are some of the contracts that will be up to $20 million. I think that is excellent if they sell a few of those aircrafts over there. And then I think Abu Dhabi Aviation are taking on the servicing and the building of the vertiports and stuff like that. So there will become infrastructure with this deal. So it's like a collaboration, but it is massive because that's not what Joby are offering at the moment. Joby are going into Dubai, but they're doing it all self-serviced. So they're doing everything. They're running the crafts, building the vertiports, but obviously there's a massive cash burn on that because they need to be able to develop the vertiports, develop the technology, and then pay for it all themselves. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so my biggest highlight of the earnings call was definitely the Archer Defense announcement. So we got that, was it back in January or so? Adam came out and said it was a multi-billion-dollar industry. He actually came out, it was a few weeks back, and said it was a bigger substantial opportunity than he originally thought. And I've said this many a times, that Adam is one of the most bullish men when it comes to Archer Aviation. So for him to be that surprised with how much profit they can make in this opportunity, I just couldn't wait to hear his thoughts on the Archer Defense program. And we're going to get into that. But guys, let me first ask you, if you like this type of format, when me and Reese are both here together, it's more of a laid-back approach, and we're able to talk to each other. To be fair, Reese, I enjoy this. What are you saying?
No, I much prefer it. And I think it'll be, these will be like shorter, more bite-sized videos. Because I know some of you guys don't have the time to watch the long-form content. So hopefully this will be more your cup of tea. Because you know how much we love tea over here.
Well, I like plenty of milk in my tea. But on a serious note, guys, bang that subscribe button. We're more or less at 2,000 of you investors. So more than ever, make sure to join the community, because, Reese, we're taking over this eVTOL space. And it's the guys together. But let's jump into the bull case. So when it comes to Archer Aviation, we have many people believing that they can be more or less the next Tesla of the skies. We have them more or less projecting that the Covington, Georgia factory would be able to produce 650 Midnight aircraft per year. Now, I know in the earnings call, they said that they'll be producing 10 this year, but one of the guys in the stream actually said that they're not starting until mid this year. So more or less they are on track for the likes of a 20 aircraft per year at the very start. I am very bullish when it comes to Archer, just because it feels like Joby have built the wall and they're trying to get that roof on top of the house, where Archer completely went and built the foundations. They've got their ability to produce. They're more or less coming in behind Joby, letting Joby steam through the regulation pathway before they get through. And to be fair, Archer are catching up when it comes to regulation. What would your biggest bull for on Archer be?
I think basically just reiterating what you were saying is on defense, where he mentioned that it would be a multi-million-dollar contracts there'll be multi-million-dollar contracts by the end of the decade, so in the next 5 years. And I think that accompanied alongside the fact that he mentioned that the defense side with the hybrid won't need FAA certification. I think they're two major parts that will give them the edge, because they'll get an opportunity to make revenue whilst Joby are still trying to get into Dubai. And I think that that could give them the edge, because they're starting to make money, and then that means that the cash burn gets reduced. So rather than making, I think they made $450 million loss this year. If they could make a bit of revenue and profit into that, we could be going down to 350 or possibly even lower. Which
I do know there was a bit of fear going around when it comes to Archer missing the EPS. I am not too worried about that. The company is currently not generating significant revenue whatsoever.
Exactly.
We're at such an early stage, and I think some of the guys got a little bit carried away with how far the eVTOL industry is. We're still at the early stage. We're at the ground floor. Now, looking forward at what I'm most excited about, then, I have to say, when it first came out, I didn't really understand the Archer defense side of the business. I thought, are they pivoting away and going into defense? But then one of the analysts asked a question on the call where they said, is Archer Defense going to be a separate business going forward, or are they going to stay under the Archer business? Now, Adam very quickly cleared that up. It's going to stay under the Archer brand. So
that'd be a big relief, really.
We're hearing this is going to be a multi-billion-dollar industry in its own right.
Yeah.
And then we have the public passengers and the commercialization side, which is going to be a multi-trillion-dollar industry. I think it's a no-brainer. If they can get this over the line, I just think this is going to be a generational company. And I can see why people are comparing it to the likes of Tesla. Yes, it is very early, and I don't want people to get carried away thinking we're going to 5, 6, 7x overnight. However, I do have a price target in mind, but is there anything you want to say on them thoughts?
Well, I think one thing that was very telling is that I know that Kathy Wood has quite a bit of Archer, and she's usually got an eye for these up-and-coming tech companies that are trailblazers in their own right. So that's like one of the main things that with her stamp of approval, that always does give me a little bit more surety on the stock. I feel like at the moment, basically, I agree with exactly what you said. I like the fact that they sort of diversified their customer base. So now they can make two different separate revenue streams. So now the fact that all their eggs aren't in just one basket. And I know that Joby did mention in their earnings about that they were the first to deliver to the Department of Defense. But we haven't seen any sort of substantial contracts, and we haven't really heard anything from them. So that's at the moment, defense-wise, Archer seems to be leaps and bounds above, even though they're the only one that's delivered 2 aircrafts, even though Joby have already delivered 2 aircrafts to the Department of Defense, which is such a funny way that they seem to have leapfrogged them without actually having the product in place.
Yeah, I want to jump back to your thought about Kathy Wood. I think some people get a little bit carried away with Kathy Wood, that she had an amazing run during COVID, and then they're sort of beating her down with a stick because she's not performing as well as previously. However, COVID was a massive blip, and I don't think people are looking at it at a long enough time horizon. I genuinely think over the next 10, 20 years, Kathy Wood will be I'm not saying she's not a rich woman, but she'll be an extremely, extremely wealthy woman with some of the stock she has available. But jumping across to price targets. Well, first of all, I want to say analysts themselves seem to put funny price targets out depending on stock price, and not always to do with how well the business is doing. And I think some people can get carried away. Now, some people may think I'm a little bit too pessimistic about this, and let me know, guys, if you think I am too pessimistic with this price target.
Yeah.
But I genuinely think my price target has not changed since I said it before this major run. My price target for, I don't know, December time is $20.
Yeah.
Reese, what is your thought?
No, I think because I think we had the discussion before you done your last video on where we seen this going and sort of the price target towards the end of the year. Let's say maybe even the financial year of 25. So
Yeah.
that might even just go into actual years. That goes into actual 26 a little bit. I'm looking at around about that price target, but it's all going to sort of it all basically hinders on whether we get that certification over the line. Are we starting to produce the vehicles, and are we keeping to the timelines that we've given? These are the only holding points that are going to hold us up. But if what they're saying to us in the earnings call is all going to get hit, and there's not any major blips, I can't see why it couldn't get to a stock price of around $20, if not north of that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. And guys, I have a big surprise for you. If you want to see a bear case on Archer Aviation, make sure to click this video next, and we'll meet you right there.
I imagine this is a video that the bag of holding has been waiting for a while.
Right, so if you haven't seen our bull case on Archer Aviation, make sure to check that out. One thing I want to disclose before you start this video is both myself and Reese are really big Archer Aviation bulls. However, it's for an informed decision, you really need to look at both case scenario. So today we're looking at the bear case and some of our concerns when it comes to Archer going forward. So Reese, have you anything to say?
I imagine this is a video that the bag of holding has been waiting for a while. And yeah, just to clarify, we are big bulls on this, but we all need to see the bear case as well as the bull case, so we don't get carried away with ourselves. And yeah, with Archer Aviation, there are the two main points that I think are surrounding it, and it's applicable for the whole eVTOL market, is obviously the safety concerns, and that's why it's taken them so long to get through the certification process, because the margin for error is zero. And I just think that the adoption of these eVTOLs, once they come into the industry, because they're not being used at the moment, is going to take a little bit of time to build consumer trust. But it doesn't stop me from the bullish outlook that I have on it. It just makes me think that the time horizon will probably widen a lot because of it.
The only thing I do feel like is, guys, I don't want to scare anyone, but when we look at the likes of what happened with Boeing, where there was freak accidents happening here and there, the margin for error, as Reese has said, is absolutely zero. And what scares me even more is it's not only in Archer's hands, it's in Joby's hands, it's in Lilium's hands, it's everyone. No matter what, if something bad does happen to any of these, Archer Aviation not only will tank, but it could cease to exist because how early we are in this industry. And I think that brings me on to the next point. This industry is so early. We're only just getting started. But if we just can't get the likes of the certification over the line, if there is a significant delay in the FAA actually awarding this, we have seen many helicopter incidents recently coming in the US. So will that make the FAA more, I don't know, stringent on
their rules and regulations? Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all, because obviously they're going to be the governing body whose head will roll if that does happen, because everyone's expecting them to have done their due diligence and they've signed off on these aircraft saying that they are safe to fly. I'm hoping that at the moment that's not going to be the case, because we have heard from Adam and Ben saying that they're working with the FAA and they're coming together and they're collaborating in order to get this across the line. So that's what my hopes is in terms of the regulations from going forward.
Then another bare thought I had is these aircraft we can project cost about, is it 1.5 million to produce? Now, they're saying they're going to be the price of the likes of a yellow taxi in New York or a black cab in London. Now, my first thought on that is, okay, the public will perceive this as good. However, to pay back 1.5 million is a lot harder than paying back a 10k car that you just bought from your granddad.
Yeah.
So what are you thinking?
Well, about that, to be honest, what I kind of inferred from the call with Adam Goldstein, where they're going to Abu Dhabi and they're selling the aircrafts and they're letting them build the infrastructure for them. So I don't know, is the model going to be, so for the consumer, they're only paying the price of a taxi, but is it the governments that they want to be working with and different cities in America, let's say, where they would actually pay for the technology, and then that means that city has this cutting edge technology, making them basically like a super city, where they have these. I know everyone hates it, but flying cars and air taxis, and it makes it seem like a city of the future, which is, I think that's what a lot of the Middle East has at the moment, where they like to be 10 steps ahead of the rest of us. And I think that's why they're pushing so heavy in the Middle East at the moment, because they're willing to pay that output now.
And I do think it's good in the Middle East. They are so forward thinking and that. But another worry that it has with the likes of the US and that is, for me personally, and guys, I can't speak for everyone, but for me personally, is public perception. Now, we have people that are afraid of flying in commercial airliners. So is the general public going to be as quick to adopt these? I know the guys in the comments are going to jump in and say, I'd fly on one. But guys, we're the bulls when it comes to this. Yeah. Not many people have even heard of this concept. So to step into one of these that are not only these flying cars, many people have never flown in a helicopter. I've never flown in a helicopter. And to be fair, I don't know what my thoughts would be about flying in a helicopter. I've never really thought about it. But then not only that, but it's also electric. And people seem to have more confidence in the combustion engine than they do electric. 100%. Even though you can back it with safety and legislation, but you can't change the public perception until it's been there a long time. And my only fear is I'm not saying it's not going to be publicly adopted. However, it's how quickly we can be publicly adopted.
It's just stretching that
time. And do we have the runway to do that?
Yeah.
So my only fear would then be, not only if the regulation gets delayed, but if we don't get publicly adopted really quickly, are we just going to see more and more cash raises? See the likes of us get diluted further and further. And guys, you're going to say, yeah, but just keep buying. But sometimes you can only buy so much before you see a return. And I don't want to be waiting 10 years to then, in 10 years' time, think it's going to take me another 20 years to ever get a return on investment.
Yeah.
But Reese, what are you thinking?
I think that's what's so important at the moment for them going into the Middle East and them adopting it, and you start to use it, because we need to get this out to the market. We need to see people that see that it's working, that the safety is as safe, or if not safer, than helicopters and planes. And basically, you just need that data where people are saying, well, they've flown 4,000 times and there's not been one accident. Whereas helicopters, there's been 20 accidents last year. And I think that's why it's so important that Joby and Archer get these aircrafts out and get them so that people are using them, so that we can see in here in the UK or in America that these aircrafts are working. They're working fine, and we can trust them. And to be honest, it will be a slow adoption, but there'll be a point where it just goes boom, and everyone will be like, oh, I want to get on it, especially if it becomes to where it's affordable and you're paying £30. Who would not want to go on a, hypothetically, a helicopter ride and pay 30 quid, the same as a taxi, and then your journey's gone from an hour and a half down to 35 minutes? Like, it's a no-brainer, but we need to get to the stage where everyone's confident in the technology and believes in it. And I do think that these Dubai and Abu Dhabi are fundamental, and I can see why both companies have done it.
Yeah. And like, guys, that's one thing I want to ask you yourselves. Would you be confident in flying in one of these midnight aircraft or the S4? I don't really mind which one you pick, but let me know which one you'd be more comfortable flying with. Or would you have a slight hesitation? Take the bull case out of your head and just think as the consumer. Would you be comfortable stepping in one of these aircraft and fly in 10 minutes with it being completely electrified? Guys, I want to disclose, me and Reese are not engineers. And aeronautical engineers could turn around and say to me, yeah, it is so much safer. But until I've actually flown on one,
or seen the track record,
it's so difficult to actually put into the mind of the everyday person. Like, could you imagine your 60-year-old auntie jumping on one of these and bringing her shopping home?
No,
and that's the only thing that worries me. Are we going to get a return on investment as quick as we think, or will it take the next generation who have grown up seeing these flying cars, and then they will be comfortable jumping into it? Because you have to be a bit of a adrenaline seeker to want to get on one of these first of all. I know going forward they want them to be everyday use. However, I just think the fear of flying is a thing. Like, so many people are so afraid of flying.
Yeah. The one thing that I would say with Archer is that I believe in Adam Goldstein's PR now, that he would get the right celebrity endorsement. And once you got, I don't know, let's say Kim Kardashian, a Jake Paul, one of these major celebrities which are able to influence millions of people, the Hustle Brothers, Morgan Freeman, that are able to influence thousands, if not millions of people. And they say, oh, well, I've been on this and this was so good. Look at this. They do a YouTube video. They do an Instagram post. They do a TikTok. That all of a sudden, bang, you'll get your return on investment and people start believing in the product. They believe that it's safe. Like, he wouldn't have showed me that unless it was safe. And I can see that's how it's going. Whereas for Joby, they're not as quick and they don't seem to be as streetwise as Archer. So I don't know, but obviously it would work in tandem that if they start believing in Archer, it's like if Uber does an advert, I imagine it doesn't really affect Lyft in terms of it. Probably people would still use it, wouldn't they? But yeah, I think that's
like, there was two things you said there that I really want to dive into. The first one is we're nowhere near close to 1 million subscribers. So guys, to help us get there, make sure to hit that subscribe button. But on the second note, it's about Joby Aviation. And guys, if you want to see a bull case from Joby Aviation, make sure to check this video out next.